This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to the second year of full-time coverage here on Dolany TV of the Edmonton Oilers. Second year of the return, maybe for some of you the second year you are around. That's fine and dandy. I'd like to thank you for being around for what is expected to be a very exciting hockey season this year for the Edmonton Oilers. You see by the title, we're talking one of those weird borderline stats. Why are we even talking about it? But I do want to talk about it just to kind of gear up what's going to be potentially a different year from the Edmonton Oilers. So friends, sit back, relax, get settled in for the next 5-10 minutes, and we'll see where we are at the end of this. But if you are new to the channel, I want you to consider hitting that subscribe button. I know I've been pushing this a little bit more this week. That is because, once again, we are this close to hockey season, and I want you aboard for the whole dang thing. To those of you returning who have been subscribers throughout last year and years previous, thank you again so much for being aboard, and I look forward to doing some magic things with you all season long once again. So with that, we'll cue up this graphic. You saw by the title, I'm talking about the goals against and goals for differential here for the Edmonton Oilers. There's been a lot made. I'm just going to let you look at this for a moment, right? Just about 4 goals per game for the Oilers last year, just over 3.1 for the Oilers last year in terms of goals against. So when we're talking about this, what I've seen crop up all summer long is the Oilers don't have good enough defensemen. The Oilers aren't going to be able to do this. The goaltending's shaky. All this sucks. The Oilers are terrible. And when I say this, I do not mean anything aggressive, nothing bad-natured towards anyone that has said this in my comments section, broadly across Twitter or across the internet here over the past few days. Simply put, it's just something that slightly confuses me, but also gives me a little bit of hope myself, seeing other fellow Oilers fans kind of thinking along this line. So what I've been seeing in the comments section below, and I just can't really figure out a good way to do it to get you the comments, is that the Oilers will be more committed to defense. The Oilers, Connor McDavid, led by Leon Draisaitl as well, will be more in tune with defensive game as opposed to offensive game. And I'm seeing these comments pretty much since posting those Bob Stauffer points predictions, right? Everyone's like, well, Stauffer's predicting them to score less because they're playing more defense. That's kind of the consensus, and I think I've seen some other places as well. The Oilers are supposedly going to play more defense this year. Now, when I look at this, this seems confusing to me because this is almost like we've gone through a whole summer of bashing the defense and goaltending for how bad or supposedly bad it is, and now all of a sudden the Oilers are magically going to give up less goals because the forwards are going to be more defensively reliable. It makes sense. I ran a couple of calculations. We'll get to that in a moment. But you look at this right here. The Oilers realistically were first in goals for, so there was no problem scoring, and they were middle of the pack in terms of goals against. So in terms of everything shaking out, we were a couple points off a division win. We were, right, there's a couple of things there that play out in the Oilers' favor that realistically, as bad as last year was at times, it wasn't as bad as we actually thought it was. So when we're talking about improving defensively, improving goals against, playing better defensively, sacrificing offense, I don't think that's necessarily true. And this is what's kind of got me confused. This is a really tough thing to understand in my brain, even trying to process it right now to tell you how I feel, is just for the Oilers, you don't have to sacrifice goal scoring to be better defensively. And this goes back to my Matthias Ekholm video I did the other day, is if you pull up the stats from the Oilers with Matthias Ekholm in the lineup, you would see those goals against and goals for differentials widen even more, and the penalty kill gets better. Everything got better after Matthias Ekholm became an Edmonton Oiler. So despite, I think everybody thinking the Oilers have to sacrifice offense to be better defensively, I think the Oilers don't have to sacrifice. They might not go get more, right? I'm not saying Connor McDavid's going to score 175 points. Heck, you know what? He might settle in that 150-point range again this year. But I'm sitting here looking at it. They don't have to sacrifice nothing. Keep the offense the exact same way. Obviously, yeah, on the back check, don't be as lazy. You're not sacrificing offense if you're being less lazy on the back check. But at the same rate, too, for the Edmonton Oilers, go out there and just kind of play the game you were playing the last 2 months of the season, and everything will figure itself out pretty dandy, right? And we look at this graphic now. If I could cue that up quick, you'd think I would have been doing that while I was yammering on about nothing, but I really wasn't. You go over here and quickly, sorry about the dog there. Last year, these are the goals for, goals against numbers that I come out to when you multiply by 82 games. 325 goals for, 256 goals against. So almost a gap of 70 goals between goals for and goals against. So you're talking almost a gap of a goal per game is how this maps out. And when it comes down to it for the Edmonton Oilers, is you even remove, well, let's look at that again. Sorry, I took that down prematurely. Let's look at that. You take out that 0.12, right? If the Oilers are at 2.98 to 3.0 goals against per game, right? All of a sudden, you're probably up in that top 15 spot, right? You're only talking with that 246 number. This is where it gets really confusing for me. 246 is the number you come out to when you go to 3.0 as opposed to 3.12. So we're at 256 last year. You go down to 2.46. So you're talking 10 less goals. You're talking 1 less goal against per 8 games. So now begs the question, this where realistically for me, I kind of get confused about it, is I guess it's from there where you form your opinion. And I'm saying, right, I said nothing bad-natured against anyone that said more defense is going to lead to more wins for the Oilers, because this is where I guess how you view one-goal games really comes into play. If you view one-goal games as the Oilers just need to score that one more goal, then you're probably in my camp, and that's where, right, this doesn't matter. But if you're in that, hey, you know what, if the Oilers had one less goal scored against them every 8 games, they might actually win an extra game every 8 games, and now you're talking about 8 goals or 8 goals against being removed, 8, 10, whatever you want to say, 10, being removed, and suddenly, yeah, you know what, you're winning 8 extra games because of it. That's kind of the view, right? I guess if you're talking about reducing somewhat like 10 goals against in the season, you're talking about a potential of, in 1-goal games, if every game you reduce that goal against is a 1-goal game and you win because of it, you're talking about a potential of a grand total of 8 extra wins. So yeah, you know what? It's a big time thing to think about in terms of how many factors there are there for me, just personally looking at it. But for the Oilers to have to sacrifice offense for better defense, that I don't view as necessarily true. Obviously, it wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, if Connor McDavid scored 130 points and we won 68 games, you're going to hear me very happy about it. Okay, that's not going to be a problem. But again, I don't think the Oilers have to do that to win more games next year. That's where I'm going with it, friends. So it's a little bit more long-winded of an episode, but I just want to get out there a little bit more of a weird topic to start the preseason playlist. But it's one of those things that you look at it, I don't view that as necessarily true. But again, I wouldn't be upset if it becomes true, right? It's the worst case. If I am wrong about the Oilers sacrificing offense for defense, they win more games because of it, and I'm wrong in saying that they don't have to sacrifice offense. The number one thing I care about still happened. The Oilers won hockey games. So it's I don't lose either way. Win-win situation. I like it. Friends, you have a great rest of your afternoon. If there's anything breaking from the Edmonton Oilers, I'll talk to you about it later today. But as we get set for the first month with hockey back in our lives since the Stanley Cup playoffs came to an end a few months ago, we are nice and roasting 30 degrees down here in southern Alberta. Love it. You have a great day. I'm up on out of here.